please subscribe and don't forget to press the bell icon to get notified whenever we upload a new video.
Okay, on to some important macro cues to track today. India's Q4 GDP data is due later today. Q4 GDP seen at 7.4%, a 200 basis point improvement from the last quarter. Ekta is here with the key expectations. Ekta, over to you.
Well, the Q4 FY18 GDP is going to be out this evening. So the street is expecting it to probably improve on a Q-on-Q as well as on a year-on-year basis. So 7.4% is what the consensus is working with. This compares to 7.2% like I mentioned last quarter and 6.1% same time last year. Now, in terms of what we can see for the particular segments, the growth is likely to be led by industries. So industries is expected to come in at around 7.5% versus 6.8% on a Q-on-Q basis, and is expected to improve versus 5% year-on-year. That will be led by manufacturing, which is expected to come in at around 8 to 9 odd percent, with IIP as a as an estimate about what exactly manufacturing could entail, which was around 7% for the quarter gone by. Separately, even construction should probably improve to around 8 to 9% this quarter. Now, in terms of a couple of other key constituents, agri is expected to probably sustain in terms of a growth momentum, but not be as robust on a Q-on-Q or year-on-year basis. So the street is working with a figure of around 3.2%, but the range is seen anywhere between 2 to 5 odd percent. Coming to services, without construction, expected to grow around 8.3% versus 7.7% Q-on-Q and 6.3% on a year-on-year basis. Again, the range is quite wide, seen anywhere between 7.8 to around 9 odd percent. We are expecting trade, hotels, transport to see an uptick, which would be supported by a low base. So overall, the FY18 GDP estimate is expected to come in line with the CSO's target of around 6.6%, which they had revised higher versus 6.4% earlier. So that would be something that we would watch out for keenly. If it does come in at 7.4%, then it would obviously overshoot that 6.6% target.
Exactly. Thanks so much, Ekta, for joining in and running us through those expectations. Well, moving on then, the ambitious mega plan between the merger between the three state-owned general insurance companies was announced in the union budget earlier this year. CNBC TV18's Jude Sannett caught up with Mr. Sharma, the chairman and managing director of United India Insurance, to get an update on the timeline of this planned merger. Let's listen in.
This year it will definitely happen. It's not a zero, nowhere zero, and it will happen. And RFP is a very, very crucial and important document, and the significance of it all of us know. And tomorrow, when we are selecting an agency to carry out the activities and to as the consultant to guide us and do that, so the terms of reference need to be thorough and very clear. So it is in that process only we are trying to draft that and complete it. And once that is done, the selection of the consultant will be a matter of within a month. It will all happen.
All right.
Once that is happened and the consultant is in place, the rest of the steps will be quite easy and automatic.
All right. So 2 quarters then, can we assume 2 quarters?
Maybe in 3 quarters.
In 3 quarters.
Maybe before 31st March 19, it should be done.
But before the end of the fiscal year, for sure.
I believe so, definitely.
Right. Before we end, I have to ask you the million-dollar question. What kind of an indication in terms of valuation will the merged entity have? Do you think 1 lakh crore would be a reasonable valuation of the merged entity, 3 PSUs?
I don't think it's going to be a 1 lakh crore entity. The merger of these 3 companies, in terms of gross premium, will be doing about 45,000 crores roughly. About 45,000 crores premium will be underwriting, and this will be the largest non-life insurance company in the country. The current largest company being New India, and this year they have done 26,000 crores. And this company, based on the current figures itself, if you are merged, it will be about 45,000 crores. So 40, in terms of the premium underwritten. Well, in terms of the net worth of these companies, it's going to be about 30 to 35,000 crores.
All right. So
net worth of these 3 companies together.
So before March 31st next year, that's the date that you're expecting?
I expect this to be completed before 31st March, because government is very keen and they are trying their best to push all of us to do that, and I'm sure we'll all be able to achieve that.
Okay, so the merger will definitely happen in this financial year. That's the word coming in from United India Insurance. Let's discuss some stock-specific action then. Reliance Communication is on our radar after NCLAT stays the insolvency proceedings ordered by NCLT. The company also posted a weak set of earnings this quarter. Rima is here with more details on that. Rima, good morning. Over to you.
Well, Anisha, the big headline is that Reliance Communication will now be able to exit the insolvency proceedings which were initiated against it by Ericsson. Remember, the NCLT had admitted Ericsson's plea to allow Reliance Communication to enter into the insolvency proceedings. However, at the NCLAT, this was stayed, which basically means RCom can now exit the insolvency. This is on the back of RCom as well as Ericsson entering into a settlement to cover Ericsson's dues. So RCom will be paying Ericsson 550 crores as a part of the Ericsson, lower than the dues of 1,150 crore. They have to make this payment by the 30th of September, failing which the company once again gets initiated back into debt resolution. The bigger deal about this settlement is the fact that this paves the way for RCom to sell its wireless assets to Reliance Jio and rake in about 18,100 crore rupees, helping it pare its debt down from the current 45,000 crore rupees. And it's also a big positive for banks. As you rightly pointed out on the numbers as well, a sideshow, not important at all because now the company is barely operational. Its revenues were weak, the margins came down, and the company's reported a big loss of nearly 20,000 crore rupees on the back of an impairment charge. Back to you.
Okay, all right, Rima, thanks so much for that. Well, let's get straight to the main show then, the crude show. That is, over the last few days, we've been tracking that very closely. Overnight, there was a bit of a bounce in terms of crude prices. Manisha Gupta joins in to run us through what's happening with crude as well as other commodities. Hey, Manisha, morning.
Hi, morning, and thank you for that. Well, yes, after 6 days of decline, we finally did see some buying come in overnight. More than 2% gains in both the varieties, that is Brent and WTI. And this is on the back of statements that OPEC may stick to its production cut agreements and may not increase supplies. Because remember, the crude oil prices in any case have come off their highs. And as the prices decline, OPEC clearly, after nearly 1.5 years of hard work of cutting output, may not want to see the prices come down. They anyway have lost a lot of market share to other producers, especially U.S. And, increasing supplies and bringing down prices is definitely not on their agenda. Apart from that, it also is about the fact that the U.S. Is now budgeting $50 to $55 a barrel of a crude oil prices. Anything above than that is actually gravy for them. It is, a profit for them. The break-even that the U.S. is looking at right now is anywhere between $45 to $55. So the crude oil prices at 75 does mean that most of the U.S. shale producers are making immense profits right now. So that is one thing to watch out for. And apart from that, of course, it is about the U.S. weekly inventory data that the markets would watch out for. In the metal space, you have seen some strength come back as trade tensions in U.S. and China are still on, but there are easing concerns over Italy political risk. And you also have seen the U.S. dollar come off a bit, and that's led to some buying in metals.
Okay, Manisha, thank you so much for that. But the other important cue that is lined up for day today is that it is the day of expiry for the May series. Now, on the surface, Nigel, it looks like it's pretty much flat, but a lot has moved under the surface in this May series.
Absolutely, Anisha. If you take a look at it, if you just pull up what's happened in other May series, you normally see a bit of quite a big move actually normally. But this time around, well, we're more or less as flat as can be. Otherwise, you've seen a move of more than 100 to around 200 points odd. So this time as flat as can be. But as Anisha said, don't be fooled. There has been actually a big move. So you take a look at the highest point in the series and the lowest point in the series. Well, the Nifty has traveled nearly around 500 points odd. And in this year so far, this was supposed to be the tiebreaker because there were 2 series that went to the Bulls, 2 went to the Bears. So currently it's still a tiebreaker, because we don't know what's happening out there. For the May series, we're as flat as can be. Well, if you take a look at the Nifty, it's a little lower, but the Sensex actually is higher. Why does this happen? Because there are a few stocks that are part of the Nifty that are not part of the Sensex. So, if you pull up the Nifty and the Sensex plate, you'll see that the Sensex is up around 190 points. Okay. Now, why did the Nifty underperform? You have a few stocks in there that are part of the Nifty, but they're not part of the Sensex. HCL, you have Vedanta as well as Ultratech. They are down between 9 to around 16%. So that's why, in fact, since they're only part of the Nifty, they've been dragging the Nifty. The Sensex has gained on that front. But there have been some other losers as well that are part of both indices. Tata Motors, top of mind, that's down more than 10%. But there are a few gainers as well. So SBI has bounced back in this series. It's up more than 10%. And Bajaj Finance and Bajaj Finserv, They are part of the Nifty, but they're not part of the Sensex. And they are up more than 10% odd. So keep that in mind. And Kotak Mahindra Bank quality has been gaining. And in fact, that is up nearly around 10% odd. From the broader markets, plenty of movers. Just dialed in the right number this time. It's up nearly around 30% odd. It's been a rank underperformer otherwise from the all-time peak. But that did well. We had Balrampur Chini that bounced back as well. And Pidilite did play its part. But in terms of losers as well, you got the stock wrong. You're losing big money. Strides, Jet Airways, they're down more than 30% in the past series. And a couple of other pharma names like the likes of Ajanta Pharma as well were down nearly around 30% in the past series.
Okay, but that was about the May series, how that looked. A lot happened below the surface, but on the looks of it, the index is flat as of now. But let's go across to Mangalam, who joins us to tell us how the cues are stacked for the F&O space today, this day. Mangalam, over to you.
Absolutely, Anisha. You know, on the surface of it, it is absolutely flat. So if one went on a holiday at the start of this series and came back today, would have seen, oh, the markets haven't changed at all. But for those who were in the market on a daily basis, the blood pressures went as high as 10,929 and also fell as low as 10,418. So that's the data point, that the sort of volatility that we saw. However, what was interesting is that in yesterday's trading session, we saw sale worth close to around 800 crores coming in index futures from the FIIs. The FIIs have been increasing their rollovers at lower levels for the Nifty. That is something that I saw because on Monday it was 17%. Then we saw that move come down on Tuesday's trading session and the rollovers picked up to 30%. Yesterday we saw some recovery from the lows. However, the rollovers did not go as high as the jump that we saw between 17 to 30%. Right now they stand at 42%. So by that, it'll be very interesting to see how the trade pans out in today's trading session. Last day of the series usually about premium eating. So the premium on 10,600 straddle, which is one call and one put together, is close to 60 rupees. So maybe the smart money is playing for a range of 10,540 to about 10,660. However, the SGX Nifty is indicating a slightly higher uptick. If that happens, then there is case for some short covering. Keep an eye out on a couple of these stocks. We have GMR Infra, IDFC Bank, Reliance Communications, all of them entering the F&O ban on the last day of the series.
Okay, all right, Mangalam. Thanks so much for that. Well, on that note, we'll wrap up on Power Breakfast. You stay with us. Bazaar Morning Call comes up next.